Howdy, and welcome back to the 200th episode of the Texas Bucket List. We are coming to you from the Alamo, a place that played a big role in Texas's independence. And 4 days prior to the fall of this famous battle site, there was a signing of a declaration down on Washington-on-the-Brazos. And that played a big role in Texas claiming its independence. During the month of March, bluebonnets are a big deal along the rolling hills of Washington County. But if walking around wildflowers isn't your forte, you'll also find a historic site to Texas here that helped create a country.
This place is significant for a lot of reasons, but it really is where Texas became Texas.
Jonathan Failer is the site manager at Washington-on-the-Brazos.
Did you grow up here in Texas?
Didn't. I was born and raised in Ohio.
Really?
Yeah. My wife and I did what, thousands and thousands of people did in the 19th century. Packed up their wagons from the east and headed west.
You guys still had wagons?
Packed up the moving truck, the U-Haul.
Since 2012, Jonathan has been telling the crucial story of what happened here in 1836, and it's a topic that really takes to Texans' hearts.
When we think about that Texas mystique, right, that Texas swag, where does that come from? There's no place that holds pride for its home more than Texas. South Carolina's pretty close.
He said South Carolina's close.
Now, Washington-on-the-Brazos isn't just the site where Texas signed the Declaration of Independence from Mexico. This is 300 acres filled with Lone Star State lineage. From the Barrington Plantation, where you'll find the home of Anson Jones, the last president of Texas, to the Star of the Republic Museum, where you can find a fine flag that's full of history.
This is believed to be the oldest Lone Star flag and potentially the only Lone Star flag from the Republic era. It's a very significant object, very important representation of the Republic period and the efforts that Texans went through to build a nation. For such an iconic item, right? I mean, the Lone Star flag is everywhere, and it's something that holds great significance to Texans. To have one that can be documented to the Republic period and be perhaps the only one is pretty significant.
Even with all those years on her, she's still beautiful.
Beautiful, and I think a nice representation. She's a humble flag. She shows wear, but she's still strong. A nice representation of Texas.
Now, the reason all this is here has to do with a town that doesn't really exist anymore. Washington was simply a safe place to hold a political convention during a time of uprising in Texas.
In March of 1836, the convention was looking for a place to meet that was centrally located for most of the delegates coming from all over the kind of the eastern part of Texas, the different districts and municipalities. They needed a place that was easy to get to, so it needed to be on a well-established road, and it needed to be relatively safe. The townspeople offered what would become known as Independence Hall for free to the delegates as a place to meet, even though it wasn't finished. The building wasn't done being built. It had no glass in the windows. It had no heating source. But it was a large building that could house 60-plus individuals for a political convention to declare Texas's independence from Mexico. The convention was officially called to order on March the 1st, 1836. On March the 2nd, they had already passed a Declaration of Independence and signed it.
That signed declaration now sits in the Texas State Archives in Austin.
In fact, I would rather that the originals be kept in the state archives. I'm not sure that I want to have an original here.
Too much pressure, right?
It's a lot of pressure.
Who wants that pressure?
But the site where those 59 delegates came to declare independence will always remain in Washington-on-the-Brazos.
This is Independence Hall, a replica of the building where they met in 1836 to declare Texas independence, draft a constitution, and form the first government of the Republic.
So not the original building, but the original spot that this happened.
Yes, sir.
This is so cool.
Adam Arnold is an educator on the site.
My dad always joked that I was born in the wrong century. So this is a replica of the space where the 59 delegates that gathered from across Texas met to declare our independence.
So 59 people in this space figuring out the Declaration. That's amazing.
The building that saw that historic time in Texas history is long gone. But for some reason, being in the same spot where Sam Houston, Lorenzo de Zavala, Thomas Jefferson Rusk, Jose Antonio Navarro, George Childress, and 55 others made Texas, brings chills to proud Texans.
I've had people come in here, hear our story, and actually start crying. There's just something about being where one of the most important moments in any country's history took place and being able to feel that connection.
We have folks who want to get married here, who want to have a meaningful connection to a place that is transcendent in some ways to them. I mean, it's a sacred place.
It is, without a doubt, one of the most important sites in Texas.
I think this is an excellent example of that Texas mystique, that Texas swag. This is where Texans took a stand against tyranny, declared independence, and forged a new nation that changed the world.
It's great to get to see people connect and come alive with it.
Well, when you enter this room, your Texas pride definitely starts swelling up.
Yes.
There's not many places in the world that can say, here a nation was born, and that can be said for Washington-on-the-Brazos. This place changed the world, and Texas continues to do that.